what is the cause that it lead to there?
I have a question. Can you walk us through what the process is going to dialysis?
3 hours, 3 times a week. And I also have to consider the amount of time you have to wait on the airport.
Yes.
And how do you feel about that?
How important it is for you to have that strong support from your mother?
Now that you've gone through all of this, how do you see your life?
Well, I see my life as a book that is now being written.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Talk. Here with us today, we have another special guest. Her name is Miss Shomica Griffith. She's well known in the community she was a former Miss Mature. She's also an advocate for health and also a social worker. I would like you to introduce yourself.
Hi, greetings everyone. I am Shomica Griffith, better known to most as Yafa. I'm 37 years old. I am a mom, a daughter, and yes, a strong believer in faith, one who stands up for encouraging and motivating others to the best of my ability. And also, I am a dialysis patient going on 4 years now.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. We have a lot of things that we would like to touch on, but first I would like to thank the audience so far. Thank you all for watching the podcast, listening, and tuning in. We really appreciate it, and we would like to encourage that more. We really encourage people to really come on the podcast and open up their story, express themselves and tell their story. You don't have to be no professional. You don't have to come from no specific background or any level in society or anything. On the podcast, we really welcome everyone to, just be yourself. And there's no right or wrong answer because it's your story. So with that, I also like to remind them to subscribe, as that is also a motivation to, let us know that you're enjoying what content we're putting out so far. So, let's dive in. Who is Shomica Griffith? About your childhood.
Thank you very much, Paula, for that question. First of all, let me just start by saying thank you very much for having me here. And Jackie also. It's always a blessing, to have the opportunity to share my story with those who are listening or willing to listen. Well, who is Shomica? As far as I can remember myself, I have always been a bold, outspoken, very bubbly individual. Sometimes I can come over as antisocial, but
facial expression.
Yes. But once you get to know me, I'm that very fun, open person. Love to laugh, love to make jokes, love to tease people. Yeah. But most of all, I love to inspire, motivate people. To draw the best out of them, to get the best out of life. Besides that, I love to read. I love to sing, but I cannot sing.
You can sing for us now too.
No.
We will be the judges of that.
I love music, but God doesn't bless me with a voice to sing. And yes, I have from a young age, I have a burning desire to motivate people, tell people about God. Like, I'm very faith based. Like, everything that I do, the way I think is based on faith, because I believe that faith moves mountains, and once you have faith, you can do and achieve anything. And
wonderful.
In a nutshell, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was your childhood like growing up?
I had a very particular childhood. I was raised mainly by my mom. Yeah. And she was like my best friend, especially growing up in Guyana, because I was born in Guyana. I came to Statia when I was 11. Okay. And in the beginning, it was all about me, my mom. I saw the struggles, I saw the good time, but one thing for sure, my mother always placed me first with a main requirement that you have to do good in school. That's one thing.
That's for sure. I can say so. Attest to that myself. Even if teacher tells if you're watching now, she always just say, motivate me and say, push
Yes.
further, especially in education.
Yeah.
So,
Indeed. So school was the main priority. I was a very curious child, so very mischievous. So that means that I had a lot of licks. Yes, I had a lot of licks. I was always a leader.
Yeah.
I was always, the child who would lead, but then very mischievous.
Where did that instill? You say you was always a child that used to lead. Where did that come from?
From actually my mom, because my mom always told me that, you was born to be different, and the struggles that she been through, she didn't want it for me. So at a very young age, I saw how my mother would push forward, like the way she strived to receive her bachelor's in education, how she sacrificed, from going to teaching a normal job in the day and then, going to school in the night and still coming home and attending to my needs. So all of those things motivated me that I know that, like settling for less was not an option.
Okay.
So from there, I always had a voice. My mother always told me that you're allowed to speak your opinion once it's respectful.
Yeah.
So those are some basic principles that she instilled in me, and that helped in creating the person that I am today.
You say you came here when you was 11 years old.
Yes.
How did you adapt coming to Statia from Guyana to Statia?
It was a big culture shock. It was a big culture shock. It was like something totally...
Because at that age, at 11, you're aware of your surroundings.
Exactly.
It's not that you come like 3 years old, maybe you can hear. I mean, remember some certain things.
Yep. And I can remember telling my mom, like, where we was living in the apartment, we could have seen when the planes came in. So I was telling my mom, let's pack and just go back, because first of all, like, you come from living in a pretty big house and you come to this small apartment with limited access. Like, I was a customer, like, just this free life, climbing trees, running up and down with friends and stuff. And I used to go to school in the city, and everything was like on a big range in comparison to this small village. So at first it was like, nah, this is not for me. I want to go back. I want to go back. But then after, you got accustomed. And I would tell people, like, Statia is the place. Yeah. Yes. So.
You was at the age that you can remember your childhood. What is something special about Guyana?
For me, when I think on Guyana, I think on the fact of opportunities that are limitless in regards to education. Like, you have such a broad range of free education that you don't have to really think about paying back, because, like, I finished UNA and I have a big debt hanging on my head. But in Guyana, is once you complete it and you commit towards a certain amount of years in giving back to the government, then you're debt free.
Oh wow!
So when I think on the comparison of that, I will be like, that is something that I always cherish, and the way how the teachers and the educators, like, they go the extra mile to make sure that you have basic principles is just outstanding in comparison to this world, that the world here in the Dutch Caribbean.
You came here when you was 11, like you said. But when you came here when you was 11, I would assume that you're going to GVP.
Yes, because they actually wanted to put me back into the primary school based
grade.
on my age. And my mother was like, no, because I had skipped a class actually. So I did not went to first grade. So I only spent like 2-3 weeks in first grade, and then I went to second grade. And so I was always advanced. So when I left Guyana, I was actually in second farm in Guyana in the secondary school. So when they
11 years old.
Yes.
Wow.
So when they gave the option of going into 6th grade, to tell you the honest truth, it's so funny every time I think on it, because it was like the only reason I wanted to go, and that was to attend the Golden Rock School. It was just because of the uniform. Yes, I always had liked the uniform. So I was like telling my mom, yes. But it was only because of the uniform. And she held out, no, And then the discussion was about Dutch.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Guyana is English. In here, the school system back then was Dutch. So my mother was like, no, she going to learn it. So, yeah, I was just thrown into the sea.
And you got through.
Yes, I never stayed back.
That's nice.
Wow.
But you see, your mom
back.
believe in you too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Way to go, teacher Tessa. Wow.
How important it is for you to have that strong support from your mother?
Oh, like, you know, like in every aspect of my life, I can't like think back on a moment where my mother wasn't there. To the sense that maybe, of course, like all teenagers or young adults, you would feel at times that, you know, okay, your mom neglected you in some way or the other.
Yeah.
But being physically there, my mom was always there. And that's something up to this day, because even like living on my own, if I get sick, it's straight up by my mother. Yes, so, you know, like I have that
Bond.
praying, yes, the bond, but also the prayers of my mother pray for me, that covering that she takes very serious, and that's something that I appreciate, and that's something that I take along with me in my task as a mother. That's something that I adapt from her, that I take along. And when you look back at the generations, my grandmother was also that praying mother and that praying supportive system. So you can see that that is something that is being passed down through the generations.
Is that where the strong faith comes from?
Yes, because I grew up seeing my grandmother always reading her Bible. I mean to say, she had a hot mouth. Right? Everybody in the neighborhood had known my grandmother for her mouth, but believe you me, every morning she will start off with prayer and gospel, and that is something that most of the grandchildren had today.
Yeah. So that's instilled strongly,
it was,
rooted within you all.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could imagine like always being with your mother. I say you say that you always used to be with your mother, but at a certain point when you finish with GVP, you have to leave the island. Was it difficult or strange leaving your mother?
Yes. When I finished GVP, I went to Aruba, and my mom went with me to Aruba to make sure that I was settled in. And I can remember, like, the night before her coming back to Stacia, I was bawling. I was bawling, like, you know, like that vibe, like, you know, like, okay, what's life gonna be like without my mother? And yeah, I guess I got around it, but that was the first reality hit that, you know, hey, like, the moment is here when you gotta show what she, like, demonstrate all the skills that she showed. She taught you.
You are a mother now as well. How was it? How was your pregnancy? How was your journey becoming a mother? Oh
well, I can remember I got pregnant on Boxing Day, and a long story short, I was studying on St. Martin. I was attending the University of St. Martin. I was studying teaching.
Okay.
And when I left Stacia after the Christmas break and I went to St. Martin, I felt like, you know, fluish. I was like, but this is strange, like, you know. And I went to the doctor and it came out that I was pregnant. So I called my mother and I told my mother, I was 22. So I told my mother, I said, Ma, I have something to tell you. She was like, what? I was like, I'm pregnant. And Tessa started to cuss. I think my mother even cussed me about her own self. Right? And she hung up the phone. So there I was, like, sitting on the toilet and like, okay, you know, like, what have you done, Shomica? And after a while, I can remember Rudy called me. That's her husband, now deceased. God rest his soul in peace. He called me. He said, like, you know, your mom told me that you're pregnant, but don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. And so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But still, you know, like, the fact that your mother's upset at you, and I was trying to understand, like,
and over the phone too.
Yes, and screaming. I was like, well, why is this woman upset?
Yeah.
I mean, she was paying. I didn't have a scholarship at that time. So she paid my way through schooling in Aruba, and also she was paying my tuition fees and my rent, everything on St. Martin. So that was like a couple thousands every month. And I could, then is when I understand, like, like, okay, there's a reason why she should be upset. But after a while, she went with your mother, Jakil, to Puerto Rico, and that's when reality hit, because when my mother came back, she came back with a suitcase full of things for the child and only 3 items for me. So that was like, yes, this is it. This is how it's gonna be from now, because it's not all about you, Shomica. You have to share now with somebody, because I'm the only child, so I never knew what it is to share anything with anyone. And that's when reality hit. But besides that, the journey of pregnancy, it was very difficult, because I was very sick throughout the whole entire pregnancy. My daughter was premature. And then again, it boils down to fate, because the doctor said that, it's a 50-50 chance that she would not survive. Wow. And
that's a big one.
Yes. Yeah. And I can recall my mother telling me, the doctors don't have the final say. God have the final say. And there is where, once again, like, like what I was taught from smaller, in every circumstances, we can reach out to God. And I stood my grounds, and I prayed, and I trusted that, everything will go well. And it was a storm. I can't remember which storm it was, but a day before my daughter was born, it had a storm passing. And the day itself when my daughter was born, I can recall I woke up and they had difficulties getting the baby's heartbeat, and I had gotten an infection. So they had to do an emergency C-section, and they was calling the doctors and they could not have gotten him. And that's the first time I saw someone reach so fast from Stacia to St. Martin. In no space of time, my mom was there. I just saw her pop up by the hospital. And tutus, the doctor was found, and the C-section was performed, and my daughter is here today.
Wow.
So that was also a learning.
What was the reason that they say it was 50-50?
Because my pressure was high, and I also suffer from diabetes, so it was like two things was against me. Also the fact that for some reason no type of food or liquids was staying down. So everything I ate or drink, I would vomit it. So it was a very challenging.
Okay, that's understandable.
And
you say you were your only child.
Yes.
How does it feel being an only child?
I'm someone I love company, but under my terms. So it's like I could have people around, but at a point in time, it's like I need my space. So being an only child gave me the privilege of embracing my my character. That I don't have to really like much with people and have people constantly within my space and stuff like that. So, but on the contrary, it have moments where you needed that brotherly or sisterly love. But I'm thankful that I had great friends throughout my childhood who was there for me like siblings. So it was a good balance.
It was okay. Yeah. Nice.
You say that when you was pregnant, you had diabetes.
Yes.
But you say when you was pregnant, you was 22.
Yes.
So was it something that you had from young, or?
Yes. I can remember I was at GVP. I think I was 15 years old, if I'm not mistaken, when I was diagnosed with diabetes. And
16, you said?
15.
15,
yes,
okay.
Juvenile diabetes. Okay. But the issue with me always was that, it was always on the border. So it was indecisive as to what type of medication would work best for me, because like taking insulin would make me feel sick. And on the contrary, taking the tablets wasn't working. So it was always 50-50. So from that age, I struggled with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And what is the cause that it lead to now?
I really don't know. I really can't say, but what I know is that it probably have to do with genetics. That there's quite a few people within our family lineage that suffers from diabetes. So I do believe that it's probably genetic something.
Yeah, we had this conversation as well, and it did indicate that in our in the Black community, I should say, that diabetes is most common. Yeah,
and I think what a major aspect that a lot of us don't look into is the fact that the way that we eat, we believe that is something cultural, but I do believe, and during my reign as Miss Mature, that was one of the projects that I really was wanting to see become a reality. Is making the community, especially parents, aware of the fact that diabetes is something real, and it is the leading causes of a lot of added sicknesses, and also obesity within the young children. And if you look around today, you see that a lot of children are also becoming more and more obese within our community, and that is our awareness that I believe that the government or even the private sector should look into and work on. So I do believe that probably too it had a lot to do with the way in which I ate. Because I am a bread lover. Yes, you give me bread and cheese and I'm good to go. That's also could be, or I take ownership towards that, or the way in which I ate had a lot to do with it also.
And I can imagine, because it's something easy. You always, when you rush in the morning, the quickest thing is to make is a bread or something. But how did you manage? You say from 15, you found that out. How did you manage when you went away for school?
My mother raised me to be very independent, very aware, and take ownership. So I'm someone who believes that, I don't depend on people for a lot of things. So when I went away for school, I was already accustomed of taking care of myself. So I studied my body and I knew the limits. So I can tell you, when I have a spike and when I have a low. So when I can feel and sense when probably the sugar level is high and when the sugar level is low. And I didn't always do it right because of course, you're young, you're enjoying life, you're away for school and stuff. So it had moments where things did get out of hand, but then I knew exactly what to do to tone it down.
Because sometimes I can imagine that, you're studying, you're focusing on studying. Maybe you're also focusing on dieting, just eating whatever easy to get. That going to your studies, why did you choose social work?
A very nice question. I was never the type of student who liked maths. So I always knew that I needed to study something that has nothing to do with numbers. Because I'm not a numbers person. So that is why I first chose social pedagogies. And I did 4 years at APE in Aruba. And after that, I was like, I want to be close to home. But I always said from a young age, I do not want to be a teacher. But for some reason, I convinced myself that, seeing that teaching is close to home at St. Martin University, then I'll do that. And I did that for 2 years, and that was not for me. That was not for me. Because I always love, helping people, speaking to people, encouraging people, solving problems. That was always a part of my character. So I knew that it was either psychology or social work. And after I came back to Statia, I had a few months working at the Golden Arrow Hotel. And I can remember Mr. Hooker telling me, as of August, you don't have a job. So I watched him why will you tell me something like that? And he said, no, because you're too smart and intelligent to be here in a front desk. He said, you need to get up and go back to school. So therefore, as of August, you don't have a job. So I went and I told my mom, I said, Mr. Hooker told me as of August, I don't have a job. And he encouraged me to get up and go back to school. So she was like, what you going to do? So I was like, I heard I'm talking about this scholarship business, so I gonna check and see
Yeah.
what it's all about. And for the fun of it, I applied and stuff, and they replied very short, like in a short space of time, and that's how everything went. I'm like, okay, this is it. So
yeah. By that time, you also was eligible to pay it out of your own pocket. I remember you said the first years it was your mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at that time, I already had my Dutch right, so I got through with a scholarship. Yes.
Okay. And how was it detaching from your daughter?
Well, my daughter was I think 8 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was 8 months, and it was hard, but at the same time, I'm the type of person that I'm very goal oriented. So I know what was the goal, and it had better uses of the social platform. So it had like Skype and those things that I didn't have when I was going to school in Cuba.
Yeah.
So it made it easier. So I communicated practically every day with my daughter.
Yeah. Nice. And of course, you leave her with the hands of your mother too, to help support.
Yes.
Nice.
I see you briefly touch on pageantry.
Yes.
How did you even take the step to even jump into pageantry?
Actually, before coming to Stasia, I was already in the pageantry world. And when I was younger, I used to model for school and stuff. Yes, that was my thing. But then after when you come to Stasia, it's a whole different culture. So I didn't pick it up. And I always said to myself, I would like to be back on the stage. And I always told Swing that, one of these days I'm going to go up. One of these days I'm going to go up. One of these days I'm going to go up. And sorry, she thought it was just like a joke.
Yeah.
So then when I can remember when the announcement of Miss Mature for 2023 came out, it actually came out in January, I think, or December, one out of the two. So I told her, okay, I'm gonna go. She Shomica, stop wasting my time. No, I'm serious. I gonna go. So she okay, I'm gonna give you 2 weeks to think about it. And we was in Bonaire for the job at dinner, and I think it was a New Year's dinner. And she announced around the table that Shomica will be going up for this pageant, and everyone is cheering me on and stuff.
Well, you said it.
I said, well, girl, you give me 2 weeks to really think about it. How you gonna do that? And I no, I can't make everybody build everybody hopes up and then let them down. And then I told my mom, and I was my daughter laughed me.
They take it serious.
They take it serious. No one took me serious until they realized that, the first post went out and stuff. Then they was this girl really truly doing this. And even throughout the journey of preparing, my mom still did not believe that I gonna go the full course. And I did it.
Yeah, nice. What is pageantry to you?
Oh, pageantry for me is an amazing platform that, as women or even men, you get the opportunity to showcase yourself in a very diverse manner, but also depicting the courage that you have within and sharing your story.
Okay. And what was your purpose when you said, let me put myself in pageantry?
My goal for Miss Mature was to demonstrate that, sickness does not mean that you're dead. No matter what type of sickness.
It sounds harsh, huh? Yeah.
No matter what type of sickness you're going through or what challenges in life you may be facing, there is always hope. As long as you can breathe, that means that there is an opportunity. So every breath is an opportunity. And I can recall in 2022 or 2023, I think. No, it was 2022. 2022. It had a big rumor around Stasia that I was there. Right? Yeah. And people was already sending rest in peace. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it was.
Sending rest in peace to your mom?
Yes.
Wow.
It was already sending rest in peace. even Bonnier, the colleagues was contacting to see, like, you know, crying and stuff because But and that made me. I laughed about it, of course. That's Shomica. I laugh about most things.
Yeah.
But
That's a serious one, though.
Yes, yes. But it made me realize that tomorrow is not promised. I had a lot of near-death experience, and it's simple that you know, God have Shomica here in this earth for a purpose. And it made me more conscious to the fact that you need to start walking in your purpose because tomorrow is not promised. And
I love how you said that.
Yes, all the little things that I always wanted to do, I took the chance. I grabbed hold of it, like, you know, let's go. I'm by the green light at the stoplight, so let's do this, let's go. And that was one of them also. So,
Yeah.
Well, where does it kind of weird asking the question, but where does a woman like that even come from? Why how a woman like that? I try to understand how someone could.
I was sick. I was actually indeed I was on St. Martin and I was sick. I was sick very bad, and indeed the doctors had told my mom that, you know, there is nothing else that they can do for me. But it was not to the extent that I was like dying or my last. So like I said before, I had a lot of near death experiences up to last October. That was one also, but yeah, by the grace of God, I'm here. I'm here today, and God isn't finished with me as yet. I have a lot of things for me to achieve, a lot of things that He wants me to do. So, yeah, I guess because of the fact that I was sick, I was flown out to St. Martin, made them believe that, you know, like, okay. Yeah, but,
What is like? What does it feel like having to go through those things?
It might sound strange, but I do see this journey as a privilege because God could have chosen anyone else to face these battles and go through this, but He chose me. And I always tell my mom that, you know, like, it's very strange that most people achieve things in a very easy manner. But when it comes to Shomica, everything comes the hard way. And at first it used to bother me, like, it used to make me so sad, you know, stressed out, depressed, that why everything have to be, you know, from the challenging aspect.
That's weighing heavy on you.
Yes, I always have to fight to achieve things. But then there's something that plays with your mind. Your mind is something very powerful.
Yeah.
And once you have that switch within your mindset, it changes every other aspect of your life. And a lot of times we go around playing the victim. You know, like, I'm the victim, it's me. And, you know, we go around playing this pity party. But I'm thankful that I had that wake-up call where God switched it around, switch my denk patron, the way you think, turn that around for me. In which I look at everything as a privilege now. Dialysis is a privilege. Having near-death experience is a privilege. I can testify to someone before them getting into that situation, or even while they're in that situation. I can testify to them of my binge-throughs, because your binge-throughs can actually be the breakthrough for someone else.
For sure.
October of last year, I was losing it. I was literally like losing it because I had like a few months where I could not comprehend like what was going on. Like, why my life like this? Like, on the job, like, you know, you would have difficult clients who would just attack you for no given reasons. And those are the clients who you would spend the extra mile trying to figure out study different theories, figuring out different things just to help them. And those will be the same clients who would treat you the worst. And also, you know, you're human. Even though you're a social worker, you're a human too.
Exactly.
So you have your own situations,
dealing your own battles.
And then on top of it, you're a child to someone, you're a mother, you're a partner, you know, you have everything dealing with just as any other normal person. So it became like a lot. And I didn't want to hear anything about God. Like, don't tell me about God. That scripture, I can do all things through Christ. Like, I ain't doing nothing because nothing ain't working. And at a moment in time, I even started looking into the Muslim faith. I was so caught up in the hijab. Like, I just want to dive into that religion. And then out of nowhere, I woke up one morning and I was sick, like terribly sick. And they sent me to St. Martin. I ended up staying on St. Martin due to the situation. And I can remember telling my mother, like, you know, like, I can't do this. Like, it is too much for me. I can't do it. And the doctors, them just could not have understand, like, what's going on. Several tests were done and everything come back good. So they just could not give my mother an answer as to what was going on. And I can remember a Dutch doctor telling my mom, like, you know, miss, I don't know what you believe in. And my mother told him God. And he told me,
I know she stand on that.
So he was like, miss, if it's God you believe in, then you need to reach out to God to help your daughter because there is nothing else that we can do for her. And, you know, prayers is what got me back here today. And that's why I stated on Monday, Paula, that, you know, sometimes even your job, we can put our spirituality aside and put our job as priority. And that is wrong because your faith is what takes you through daily. I'm a strong believer in Jesus Christ, and I do believe that the work that he did on Calvary's cross for me is what redeems me every day, and that is what sustains me. And I had no other choice than to going back to what I was taught from an early age. I went back to my deeper inner beliefs. So no matter the stress, the betrayals, the setback, the depression, the sickness, everything that covered that faith, I had to remove it layers by layers by layers and found back my faith, and that is what got me here today. Actually standing up in the mirror and see where you went wrong and accepting it and asking God for forgiveness and say, God, you know, you're the only one who can give me that strength that I need to put me back on my feet.
Nice. Going through all of that, what made you say, you know, you grew up in that faith, but what in that moment, why did you say you wanted to switch? Was it because you didn't feel things was really working? Or
I felt like God was unfair to me because growing up, the father aspect was very vague. So I always had a desire to have a father figure in my life. So it started there, and I can remember while I was in Curacao studying, I used to go to church there. And the pastor and me was very close. That's the first time I truly experienced the love of a father. And sadly, he got brain tumor and he passed away just after I came back to Statia to live.
Wow.
So from that moment, it's like I had this anger in me against God, like you know you didn't have the fat opportunity, but then you got close to someone and then you grab it away from me, and then it had different other people who passed away and stuff. But I'm the type of person, like, you know, things will go on and I would just like throw it behind, put on a smile, put on some makeup, some pretty clothes, and it's all good. But then, you know,
at least look pretty.
yes. Never look like how you feel. Right? And that's what I did for years, you know. Years upon years upon years. And everything built up. So, you know, like you was digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper. Until you was confronted with all of these things. And even like being on dialysis is something that, you know, people would take forever to get accustomed of. And in 3 days, I was like, you know what? Let's do this.
Yeah.
But I never gave myself the chance to really mourn the normal life, because when you're on dialysis, yes, it's not. I make it a normal life for me now, but you should at least give yourself that space to say you have lost something. You have lost the normalcy of your life. I can't just get up and go anywhere. I would love to go on a cruise, but I have to arrange so many things. Even traveling for the job is so many things you have to arrange to make sure that you get dialysis treatment. So I never took the time out to mourn those aspects. And at one point in time, everything just present itself before you, and it was so much you're like, whoa. I will say, God is good. God is good, and
it's good that you went back to what you know, and you see it working, and and that has to do with your faith. Your faith, sorry.
Yes.
I have a question. Can you walk us through what the process is going to dialysis?
Okay. Let me see. Dialysis has all to do with your kidneys. So once you're being detected as a dialysis patient, that means to say that your kidney function is not normal. In my case, my kidneys functions 7% in total, both kidneys, 7%. And for you to be off of dialysis, it have to be 10%.
Oh, okay.
A normal day, you have to be very mindful of what you eat and what you drink. You have to avoid things that has a lot of liquid, so foods that contains a lot of liquid, but also food that contains a lot of toxins, because remember your kidneys is not working, so it cannot flush out the toxins out of your body. So for a station dialysis patient, 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We gotta be on the airport by 6:30, the latest 6:45. We go on the plane. When you reach St. Martin, you go on a scale. They always check your post weight and your pre-weight.
Every time,
because it does with calculation of the liquid. So based on how many liquid you drank or consume through foods, then they have to calculate how many liters need to be taken out for that dialysis thing. And you spend 4 hours. Needles are inserted. Most patients have a shunt. So my shunt is here. So if you look at my hand, you will see 2 bubbles, in which here and here is where they insert the needles, and one takes out the blood. It goes through a cleansing system, a machine, dialysis machine, and then it goes back. Your blood goes back into your...
So it's like purifying?
Yes. It extracts the liquid, and it also cleanses your blood. So that normally should take 4 hours. Sometimes depends on how the transport from Statia to St. Martin goes. Sometimes we reaches dialysis a bit late, so that means that you wouldn't get an entire 4 hours of treatment, because remember, the shift that we're on, it have 2 other shifts after us. So if you're late, then it puts the other shifts to be late too. And that's unfair to the other people. So, sometimes we get to do 3 hours and a half or 3 hours and 45 minutes. Depends. And after that, you have to press. I normally press for the hole to close back up. For it to stop bleeding, then I normally would press for 5 minutes. Sometimes a little more, depends on how your pressure is. And then we jump in the bus, we go back to the airport. Once the other patients on the flight, so if they add extra people on the flight, once they're on time, then we are able to come back home early. If not, we have to sit and wait. And waiting has consequence on your body, because remember, for that X amount of hours, your blood was outside of your system. And now you need time to relax for it to build back up. and stuff. So when you have to sit on that busy airport and wait, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
It takes a lot.
Waiting done does tiring.
Yes, it takes a lot out of you. So that's basically it.
And how long does what you showed us? How long does that say? Do they take it out, or do they?
No,
is there?
There's taking it out is very dangerous. So once that goes in, that is it. If it malfunctions, then you have to put in a other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's for permanent.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a vein. It's like an external vein. So it taking it out is very, very dangerous.
And each time, 3 hours, 3 times a week. And they also have to consider the amount of time you have to wait on the airport.
Yes.
And how do you feel about that?
Sometimes it can get to you.
Yeah.
Because of course, like you gotta wake up early in the morning to get ready and stuff, and then sometimes you really want to get back home to just relax, or you have something to do and you want to get back home, and then or sometimes you're hungry, like let us be hungry, and then they will be calling the people and then they can't get them and stuff. So that could be tedious at times, but all in all, like I have learned that make the best out of everything, and I stand in faith. And it might sound weird to some people, but I know that sooner or later God will heal me. I have already seen Him started to work in different ways, and I know that one day I'll get up and my kidneys will be restored. That's just my faith. And
you have to believe in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that I don't fret about it or worry about it.
Like you say, each time you breathe, you take a breath.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes. So I appreciate the fact that you see it as something that actually gives you. God gives us life, but it's Him who instills and gives people the ability to come up with these great ideas. And these type of things is what prolongs someone's life. And it is prolonging my life for now until God completes the healing process in me. Yes.
That is nice, because especially like when you say, each time you breathe, and it's an opportunity and new purpose.
Yes.
Now that you've gone through all of this, how do you see your life?
Well, I see my life as a book that is now being written, and it's not because the chapters wasn't there. The chapters were already there, but I chose not to allow the author to write it. So I embrace the fact now that this is my moment. This is my moment, and I have accepted the fact that my life is very unusual, and I embrace it now. Because sometimes we would run from our own selves, run from encountering ourselves, and that causes more harm than good. And after all the encounters, it comes a point in time where I had to speak to myself and say, what, Shomica, this is your moment. Because I was always someone who placed and invested a lot into others, and ignoring myself or putting myself on the back burner. But I had to come to the harsh reality that, Shomica, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So now is the time where I am investing in me, making choices for me, and doing what is right for me.
I know. Thank you for sharing that. It's really nice, and also you have to motivate yourself as well.
Exactly.
What are things that you do that you can say, call it self-care?
Self-care. Well, I read a lot. First, I used to read a lot of blogs and testimonies of other people and theories in regards to my career and stuff. But as of lately, I find myself reading the Bible a lot. I've spent a lot of time invested in reading the Bible. It was a big challenge. It was a big challenge, but I am really prompting myself to do it, and also praying. because most people who know me know me innerly, knows that I love to pray.
Yeah.
There is where I find my peace and my joy and my happiness, my tranquility is in prayer. And it's going back to the little things that you once had and you placed aside.
Yeah.
And also like upgrading myself, seeing what is the true purpose that God has for me, and putting stones to reach to that goal, and also like making memories with my daughter.
Yes. How old is your daughter now?
My daughter is 14 in September. She'll be 15.
Okay. Are you already planning where she's going
Yes,
yet?
we already had that conversation. Yes. So,
Okay.
yeah, we already had that.
Okay.
I have a question. We actually, we made this podcast not only to hear the stories of everyone, but also in relation to mental health in general.
Yeah.
How important is mental health for you? And the two questions, what do you think can be done to bring more awareness for mental health?
Okay. Mental health is very, very, very important, because I always say once this toolbox up here in order, like probably a mechanic. If you go by Gary, for instance, during the day you will see like all the tools probably scatter.
Yeah.
Right? But at the end of the day, you would expect that, okay, he will clean up and put it in an orderly manner. And it's the same thing with us, that at one point in time, we got to make sure that it's cooking up here. Like it's in line. That is why, for me, people health is very important, and also setting personal boundaries. Because, within our community, people are quick to say that you're selfish. When you put yourself first. But it's nothing about being selfish. It's actually taking that moment, taking that time out to do the things that makes you happy, and actually connecting with the true you. And if you cannot do that, it places a great burden on all the other aspects of your life.
Yeah.
So for me, mental health is very, very important. I know what it is to be depressed. I know what it is to be stressed out. I know I previously suffered terribly from anxiety. But I'm thankful to God that, he brought me through that, because, people would think that, anxiety is just something normal, regular.
Yeah.
But I had the worst, worst form of anxiety. And they always would say that, there's no cure for anxiety. But my God heals, and I'm thankful that that for months, from the ending of October to now, I never ever suffered again from anxiety. So all of those are things that you gotta be mindful of, and be mindful of the way how we speak about each other, the way how you interact with people. Sometimes a simple good morning, good afternoon, or a simple smile would mean so much to someone. How are you doing today?
Yeah.
Let's go back to when I first came to Stacia. People were so loving, like so genuine. But now it's like, you see so much hostility in the manner, like life. Of course, for all of us, life probably is hard at times.
Yeah.
But do not portray it on someone else, because you don't know what that person is going through. And I believe that it is not only the government or private sector, but all of us as individuals, all of us as stations should invest towards being our brothers and our sisters' keeper. And once we go back to that, to being the godly community that we were back in the days, raising even to our children in a godly manner. Because when I came to Stacia Friday nights, every youngster was a part of some youth group.
Yeah.
And now you will question.
That is true,
That now is true. Would even question, does it even exist now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Does parents take the time out to study the Bible, speak about Jesus, and for making sure that your children attend church, and not only attending church and sitting on the phone and laughing and giggling, but paying attention. Because the outer world is a monster. And especially when you go out there to study, if you're not strong, how many of our children don't go out there and crumble? And that's because of what was being instilled here. We need to go back. And yes, people have said that, it's everyone's responsibility to raise their child. But I do believe that we can go back to that saying where it takes a village to raise a child. And all of that will help, because when you look around, you see a lot of young children are being affected with mental health issues. So that means that we as a community, we as the older ones within the community, are doing something that is not right. So some way along the line, a gap is missing.
I like that you mentioned those aspects, especially bringing in the youth and the children and so forth. I know a part of your job is also has that involved. What can you tell parents? Our community at large, even.
Like I said, our children are crying out for unconditional love with no attachment. And it is us to be able to provide them with that. We find that the cost of living has been skyrocketed. You will find parents have to do 2 and 3 jobs, so therefore that cuts back on the time being spent, because sometimes when they get home, they're so tired that they don't have that time and dedicated moment towards the children. So you allow like the tablets and the phones and stuff like that to raise the children, and that can have negative influence. So my message to parents and the community at large is to invest time, and don't be ashamed. Like, yes, we have the old time ways in which you learn from the old, but there's a lot of new knowledge, a lot of new skills out there in regards to parenting, and make use of it. It is there to your disposal, so make use of it, and not only just hearing it, but applying it in your daily parental skills, your daily communication with your children.
That's a powerful one. And it's like you say, time can mean so much. And I can bringing back the pastor who you had a close relationship with. I can imagine that time he had with you was important to you. So I think which way or form, take your time out for the children.
As you see the difference, and even now I have 2 individuals that are not my biological parents, but they invest time and effort, everything into me as if I am their own. And they also have a very close communication with my mom. So you can see that you don't need to be biologically attached to a child to be able to give them that care, that love, and that attention, but just from the mere fact of mentorship. And I do believe that is something that is probably missing in our community also, mentoring a child. And it doesn't take much out of you to be a listening ear, arms that hugs that child, listen, care, reach out, a short activity, something of the sort with a child.
Before we end this, I would like to know what is something that you really appreciated from your mother?
When I think of Teacher Tess, and that is what I call her most of the times, I call her Teacher Tess, I appreciate the fact of her strength. The fact that she's very open towards showing everyone, especially children, that she interacting, that you can do anything that you put your mind to. And in the community, when I look and I see how her past students would interact with her and show her appreciation, probably 2 weeks ago, she came home all excited. So I was like, where are you? And she look. my student sent me this and stuff. And this is a student that is all the way in Holland. That asked his mom to put together a gift for her. And you know, those are the little things.
Thoughtful.
Yes. Thoughtfulness of her. Even like students, like she would know that, okay, probably they have exams going on, and she would make sure, like, you know, she call them and encourage them, or when she's probably be out in the shop and she would stop by and, you know, just greet them. So her dedication towards her students, that is something, and the strength that no matter what she may be going through, because the past few years she had a lot of losses, losing her husband, losing 2 of her sisters back to back, and you see, like, no matter what, she did not crumble. Like, she stood strong, and she continues on and being there, my sickness, and she's there, you know, supporting. So those are the aspects of my mom that I really and truly appreciate.
So nice. I think I had to ask you that question. She's truly a definition of a strong woman, and although it's women don't want to carry that on them, like, I'm strong, but I can imagine how much it can be. But she's strong, and her faith is even stronger. So is there anything we didn't touch on that you would like to share with the audience?
I don't think so. I think it was a very good discussion. Thank you for making it, like both of you made it, you know, pleasant, very relaxed. The vibe, the atmosphere is very chill, and it is like welcoming. It allows you to be able to sit down and just express yourself freely. And once again, thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it.
And I do hope that this podcast has been an inspiration, a motivation to many out there, and I would like to encourage you to continue the good works and continue trusting in God, that, you know, this, it will not only remain in this region, but it will go worldwide, because you never know who it can inspire.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, especially for your quick response. You know, one day to the next, and like, okay, if she ready, then we have to be ready.
Exactly. And for everybody, like, for you especially, these things wouldn't be possible without you guys, because we sit down with guests and we talk to them. So without you guys' stories, we wouldn't have anything. So guys, like I say on the talk, Jackie imagery, capture the moment, watch it forever. See you guys in the next episode. Bless.